Good afternoon and welcome to NFTs Live. I'm your host, Tyler D. It is Tuesday, January 4th, and I'm joined today by Brett Richey for our first show of 2022. Brett, Happy New Year, bud. How you doing?
Happy New Year, my man. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely excited to be back. There's been a ton that's happened in the NFT space since our last show 2 weeks ago. We are in a bull market. It's obvious. So on today's show, we're going to cover that. We're going to talk about Apes flipping punks again and that whole ecosystem on fire. We're going to take a look at both the Lucky Trader 7-day view and the IC 3-day boards to talk some big movers and trenders. We're going to talk Xcopy setting new all-time highs in the one-of-one space. Talk through the blue chip PFPs and art blocks floors, and hint, we're seeing green again. And then we're going to end with talking a few new drops, including one from BrainDrops and this new Cuddly drop that just hit our radars today. Sound good? All right, let's get started. So I'm going to start with that macro view, our trusty dashboard from Dune Analytics, taking a look at the OpenSea numbers, sharing the screen here. There's a lot to unpack. I want to start with just recapping December. So December came in at $3.25 billion in OpenSea volume, second highest all-time month, behind August peak mania of just 3.4. So within 4 or 5% of all-time high. And we can see the daily view here on the top right, over half the days over that $100 million threshold that really got us there. And then we see here at the tail end, a big surge starting right around Christmas through the holiday break and into the new year. One of the big drivers for that, we have to talk about the SOS airdrop.
Yeah.
Quickly show the OpenDAO SOS token chart here. It's a painful chart a bit for me to talk through here. But just kind of recapping how this played out. So SOS, the OpenDAO airdrop tokens, essentially to anyone who participated in purchasing NFTs on OpenSea, and the amount of tokens you got was relevant or related to your spending activity. So folks like Prinksy, Keyboard Monkey had huge volumes. They came out of the gate fairly low. A lot of folks dumped right out of the gate, which is kind of the standard that we see for these airdrops. And then the token 10x'd before slowly coming down to earth a bit. But this pumped hundreds of millions into the eco. What was your reaction? This was a pretty big surprise to us.
So I saw it, right? And so the first instinct, especially goes to all OpenSea traders, the first instinct for a trader is going to be, oh, free money, right? And go take it. So there's enormous sell pressure on day one. However, it was like they did, I think, 700 million in volume. There was all this buying power coming from somewhere that got me, this is like late December, right? And so I was like, I'm not really an altcoin trader, right? I mostly just do NFTs. So I'm not experienced enough to know whether or not my reaction was correct. But I was like, these people must know something. There's a reason they're buying. It's already almost the end of the year. I don't really want any more gains in 2021 anyway. So I'm gonna wait till January and see. So that spike was like December 27th, maybe 25th, 26th. And then obviously you can see over by like the 29th, it was coming down. And I was like, oh, I might have made a bad decision, but either way, I'm going to wait and see. And then I did end up selling, I think on the first. The market cap is like 600 million fully diluted or something, which I was like, I don't know how much more upside there is for something without a product there. I think it's fine to hold, right? A lot of the volume shifted from Uniswap to Gate, KuCoin, and OKEx, which that's not an environment I know a ton about. I know more about the Uniswap volumes as being something that I get where that's coming from. And like, those are very real volumes. I have a friend, friends that are bullish that are still in, I have friends that sold. I think that's the great, you played either way you want. You can take the free money right away or, roll the dice a bit. But it was great for the ecosystem because a lot of people got a bunch of ETH coming out of this.
Yeah, and it feels like everyone pumped it right back into NFTs.
That's the way NFTs are. Money that people make as NFT sale in general, outside of bills or whatever, it's going back into more NFTs.
I'll briefly share my story. I said this chart was painful for me. I was actually up on Christmas morning before my kids were up, actively monitoring the charts. I was watching it hit the 10 threshold there, which was its 10x. Diamond handed through that peak and then essentially sold the bottom. I sold it off in the 0.04s, but still certainly a nice windfall, like you said.
Yeah, and you did a lot of volume, so we it's still, again, it's out of nowhere.
Yeah, I can never be upset about that. I want to pull us back to the chart though, just to zoom in on the last few days, because these are pretty meaningful daily volumes. So on January 1st, we came in at 170 million, the highest we'd seen in 3 months. Then on the 2nd, 243 million. And then yesterday, 255 million. The 3 straight days of peak volumes we've seen in a full 3-month period since really there's only a handful of days that are even higher than this. And it was the peak August mania. So the liquidity is back in this market. Like waking up every day and seeing $100 million already in volume done by 7 a.m. Central Time every day. So I'm trying to pinpoint where the liquidity is coming from. If Asia is starting to participate more, and that's why we're seeing more overnight volume, or if it's still everyone just waiting for cheaper gas overnight. Do you have a take on what may be driving
it's a combination of a few things. I think one is the SOS airdrop, as you say, like that put a lot of money in NFT traders' pockets. Two, everyone talked about like when are funds coming, right? I think it's reasonable. A lot of funds start in January in the new year, right? You're not going to typically launch in like a December, and it doesn't have to all be like mega whale VC type funds. It could be like kind of friends and family, people like, hey, I did all right trading on my own in 2021, and they raised some money for like a small fund to deploy. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bunch of stuff like that. Even just like retail, whoever, just like the space, it keeps getting more popular, more attention. So like the amount of users in the space is like there's just more people coming in. Also, it is a little weird to see that it's like the high and mid-tier stuff that's really catching a lot of heat. Usually the new user, they're not just like, yeah, my friend did this, but he made a bunch of money in DeFi, but like an Apes usually not like their first purchase. Like if you're just coming into this space. So I think it's just a combination of a bunch of things. And then the other thing is, even during like the worst kind of bearish market, there would be these like pockets or these spikes, and like something like, CryptoPunks would partner with Visa or whatever, or I forget whether the CryptoPunks or Visa bought a punk. And then that sparked this like a bunch of buys. Like we've always seen like there's still money on the sidelines waiting for a spark in this space. And like once a bull run is like, it's fun and it makes sense that people are just like, okay, I'm going to, pull money out of just other crypto stuff and put it into NFTs. So
that's how it goes. Well, that's a good seg. So let's get into more detail and talk, what are the projects that have benefited the most from all this extra liquidity? So we're going to take a look at the 7-day view from Lucky Trader, taking a look at the last week, and the head and shoulders above everyone else winner is the Bored Ape Yacht Club ecosystem. So the mutants are up top here with 25,000 ETH. The apes are in second with 24,000 ETH traded. The dogs aren't here, but I think they've done somewhere between 5 and 10,000 ETH as well. So over 50,000 ETH traded in the last 7 days just in this ecosystem. Insane volume. We have the mutant floor up 60% in a week at 16. And then we've got the apes floor at 72. The dogs floor is sitting at 5.8 this morning. There's a ton to unpack from this. First, mutants were at like 3 ETH.
Yeah, in retrospect, that was an obvious trade. My friend, he kept telling me, sell this thing, buy mutants, why do you buy a bunch of mutants?
That was an obvious, miss, certainly on my part. And then I've been somewhat of a Bored Ape Yacht Club bear over the last few months. Maybe it's just saltiness from selling mine off, but can't dispute this growth and the reflipping of the punks. So we had the fake flip that happened in the low 50s, right? And apes weren't really moving up, and it was the punk owners kind of crashing the floor. Then the punks floor shot back up into the mid 60s, but then over the last few weeks, the Apes is steadily climbing, and we see that floor at 72 now with a full flip and doing 3x the volume of the punks. So I got a couple questions for you. Do you think Apes have temporarily topped here, or what are your thoughts?
I wouldn't be surprised if they keep running. To be honest, people are really excited about this token, which to me, I'm wary of it. I think that like this is a good spot. And again, I don't own any of these anything in the Ape ecosystem, so it's easy for me to say. But to me, I would be looking to sell the hype ahead of the token. I think people are really overestimating the outside demand for this token from outside the Ape ecosystem. I've seen Bored Ape people be like, this is going to be a meme bigger than Shiba. To me, this isn't an interesting meme. Like the Apes are already this like wealthy, successful thing. That doesn't make for a good meme. I think that the meme potential of this coin is basically zero. And then another guy was like, oh, Apes alone, nobody else comes in the ecosystem. They'll keep this coin between 1 and 5 billion. It seems a little high if you're not expecting any outside money to come in. And again, like a lot of these apes, the ape is a big percent of their net worth that they're just diamond handing to ape. They might sell off some of the airdrops, right, for some liquidity. So it really depends. Like there are some very wealthy people in the apes also. But if you're outside of the ape community, are you really going to come in and spend, 7 figures buying some of this token? Maybe. But I think it's a big if. And I wouldn't be surprised to see, once the token airdrop or snapshot's taken, for sure the floor is going to drop. So I don't think it's crazy to sell ahead of that.
Yeah, I will say I used to be bearish on the token. I'd say my position is now closer to neutral. And I think I see the bull case. And I mean, apes are the talk of the town. Like any newbie who NFTs are a buzzword for at this point and don't know much about it have probably heard of Bored Apes at this point.
Yeah.
So it will be the lowest cost entry to the ecosystem, which is already out of reach now. I mean, even the dogs at 5.8, like no new money is going to come in and buy a Bored Ape dog at this point, but they might buy the token. So
yeah, that's a good
no
point.
longer fading it.
Yeah, I wouldn't fade it. I think that it's not crazy to take the profit ahead of the token. But I agree. I easily admit I could be wrong. I'm not super bearish either. I'm more in the middle too, I guess I'd say. But
my second question, should punk owners be worried? So we'll go ahead and show the punks for sale board here. It's 68 ETH floor. We've got, a full row and a half that would have to be picked up to get back to the 8 floor, which we've seen can happen in a day. But, what are your thoughts? Do you think punk owners should be bullish here or?
To me, I think punk has always been like a fine long-term play. I will say that like the punks community throughout last year were incredibly arrogant on average at times, really condescending and elitist. And so, it's not bad to get a little wake-up call potentially for them, but you're not a better, like smarter person just because you have more sophisticated taste in NFTs than like somebody else. And I think the apes, the market kind of responded to that, right? They're like, they were talking shit about apes or like they're lowbrow or like whatever. And okay, well, you got beat. I'd be worried a bit. I mean, who knows if Larva's doing anything behind the scenes? I think it's very clear that the market right now appreciates teams that are building, that are making moves. But again, like the original 10,000 PFP project of punks that innovated, that started this entire spark, like you wouldn't have apes without punks, you wouldn't have doodles, you wouldn't have a million of these. Every project on that board, maybe except like Sandbox, you wouldn't have without punks. So if you like zoom out long term, I wouldn't be worried about punks at all, and it might not even be a bad time while there's sort of FUD around punks to get in, because I don't know how they might get down to 30, 20, maybe. I don't know how low they can go, but I think you gotta like them long term. I don't see a world where punks are like dead and NFTs are a big thing.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I can see them being a good buy. I think the other potential bull case for them is as more of these PFPs get to the mid-tier range. So if Cool Cats Doodles get to like the 20 ETH floor and you can trade 3 Cool Cats for a punk, we're going to start seeing that. And then we'll start seeing the multiples happen again. But Who knows? Certainly we'll be watching. So that's a bit of the macro view and Apes flipping punks. I want to talk about what else has been trending, because there's, with this type of liquidity and volume, everything's trending and there's green all over the board. So let's pull up the icy 3-day view to zoom in on a few other projects. So I'll start with the Prime Ape Planet project. They've done 10,000 ETH here in the past 3 days. The floor was as high as 3.5 to 4 at one point pre-reveal, and then it seems to have synced quite a bit on the reveal. I saw it at 1.9-ish this morning. This is a product that was hyping their Discord numbers on
those
the
are fake
page.
always. Just anybody watching this, it is time to completely throw out Discord numbers. They're fake. They're not getting. They got 100,000 in less than 24 hours. No, they didn't. It's bots. If you look at their OpenSea description for the Primate Planet, first thing they say is we have this huge Discord. Okay, if that's your main call to action, run as far away from something like that as you can. These Discord numbers are very easily faked. Twitter numbers are very easily faked. Stop falling for these fake hype scams, is my advice.
Yeah, that was definitely a big red flag. And I didn't really see it. I saw it mentioned by, a handful of folks on Twitter, but not as many as I would have expected. But then it played out with the exact same price arc that we've seen in these big Discord products like Mechaverse, where it launches, high demand, pre-reveal, it steadily goes up, and then it gets dumped. And, we're already down 50% from all-time high. So certainly, be wary of this and careful if you're minting to flip or trade. Understand your timelines. Let's keep going down the board. So Clone X, they shot up to that 6.5 floor on that Nike news. And then with no news, they kind of drifted down. They're down in the mid fours. The artifact space pods were airdrops, really with not even much acclaim or buzz from what I was seeing, but they've caught some of the tailwinds. I've been curious, what the money from the BAYC mutant sellers is going to rotate to. It seems like it might be Clone X. That floor's back to 6.5. What's your read or take on the Clone X market?
For me, I was incredibly bearish on this pod airdrop to begin with. When you get anything out of 20,000 edition airdrop, if you're expecting to sell that for anything, you're out of your mind. Those always are going to be worthless on the resale market, almost always. But Clone X, I mean, Nike has them. Nike has this phenomenal marketing machine in like at least the traditional and digital worlds. Web3 obviously is a bit of a different game. NFTs are a little bit different, but like I would err on the side of betting on Nike to execute. I mean, they really have. It was like it started by Bill Bowerman and Steve Prefontaine, like these like guys out of a college in Oregon, and it became this mega global behemoth. And a lot of that was marketing. I think Nike marketing's their strength, or it's up there with anything they do really well. So I wouldn't want to necessarily bet against them. But again, they have all these onerous terms and conditions. I actually bought some of the Clone X token, which is a fractionalized Clone X against their terms and conditions. And kind of the bull case for that is that Nike starts suing people, and they're like this sort of aggressive actor in this space that people are like, hey man, that's not the way we want to do things here in Web3. So I think this could go kind of a lot of ways, but gun to the head, if I had to make a prediction, I'll bet on the Nike marketing machine.
I tend to agree. I will play out my view of the risk to buying in here is twofold. It's 20,000 supply. Which we haven't seen besides the mutants. Nothing's really.
And even that 2 weeks ago, we were still kind of like, they're whatever.
But the reason the mutants are succeeded is all on the P2E utility, tokenomics. And right now, Artifact, they were a strong team. A lot of people believe in them, but the roadmap doesn't really speak to much real utility beyond the space pods, which have already been dropped, and some merchandise. From what I'm seeing,
so Nike's not going to do a token, right? They're not going to take that risk. I'm not betting on that. So, but maybe, LeBron, or maybe not someone of quite his stature, but some of the Nike athletes start rocking a Clone X, or like they have the metaverse Clone X artifact drip. Like there's ways for Nike to integrate some of these athletes as promoting this that I think could definitely cause a big spark.
Yep. I'm with you. Let's keep going. I want to highlight another sector on the board here, which is in the what I'll call the metaverse plays or virtual land, virtual worlds. So we've got two right here in the middle. We've got NFT worlds, which did 2,200 ETH volume and sits at a 3.5 floor here as of this morning. And then Worldwide Webland, which is the virtual apartments that we've highlighted on this show before. They did 1,600 ETH in the past 3 days, and that floor is holding at 1. I want to show a tweet from Worldwide Webland just to kind of give a sense of the utility that now we're seeing in these metaverse NFTs. So from their Twitter page, 2022 will be massive for the expansion of Worldwide Web 3, land utility, play to earn mechanics, token launch, parties, further scaling of NFT project integrations, multiple PvP games, giveaways. So this is the type of blueprint that we've seen succeed in the PFP space. Now we're seeing it in metaverse, and Worldwide Webland is following NFT Worlds, which NFT Worlds has run up like 400 or 500% in the last 2 weeks. They did a world token drop to their owners. That token is also up like 2 or 3x. I'm not following the token closely because I'm not an owner, but that NFT has been very profitable for owners, and Worldwide Webland is also up 150% or so in the last few days. What's your read on this up and coming and trending metaverse sector?
I think there will be big winners. I think that there's a lot of hype, like that Worldwide Web tweet. I'll be shocked if all that comes out this year, right? No way. But that's fine. The market doesn't really care. They're trading hype. NFT Worlds is a little tilting for me. I actually minted a bunch of them, like 8 or 10. I think you could only do 3 on an address. I had 3 addresses set up, and then I sold them basically at cost. I was kind of like, I don't think this thing is going to get built, and it wasn't really going anywhere. And then it mooned. So I think that, like, you look at Sandbox, right? There were some big wins there. I don't even think Sandbox is live yet. There's a lot of Decentraland, which is live, but it's the user experience there is not great. Like, these are very, like, building a metaverse that people want to hang out in is extremely challenging. So I think that's why you see a lot of hype. People like spreading their bets around, because, like, if one does succeed and ends up getting hundreds of thousands, millions of users, okay, that makes a lot of sense as an investment to try and get in early on something like that. There's a lot of competition in this space. It's not really an area I spend a lot of time looking at. It's a really, I think if you need, other than trading like the hype cycles, which I think is very possible, you look at NFT Worlds and Worldwide Webland. If you just wanted to like trade hype, I think there are trades for that. But if you're looking at like long term, like, there's a lot of research to do. Which of these teams can actually pull this off? I think there's probably opportunity to try and figure out like which teams have the best chance and back them. But it would take some time, and it's just not really where I put my energy.
Yeah, I share a similar view. Long term, I don't think we have any idea who's going to win, but short term, playing the hype cycles has been very profitable, and we've seen it in Treeverse, Sandbox, Decentraland, and others. So that's how I've been doing it. Of course, not financial advice. I want to highlight a few more movers on the board. So Alien Friends, let me check my notes here. 1.3 floor up, I want to say 400% on the week. They did 2,500 ETH volume. Cool Man's Universe, 1,200 ETH, 0.6 floor. Both of these were down in like the 0.1, 0.2 range just a week ago. And then another one close to the heart, I'm a big holder of Capsule House. Capsule House had a huge night, exploded, went over a 1 ETH floor, 1,300 ETH volume here in the past 3 days. So we talked a little bit about this before the show. The big liquidity came, it hit the top end of the market, and then it's been starting to rotate around. And it's a playbook we've seen before. And it started with the Apes. Cool Cats and Doodles both ran in the mid-tier. And now we're starting to see the low end run a bit as the new joiners, the new mentors get, their first taste at, 3-5x returns. It's definitely nice to see. Are you paying attention to any of these on the lower board, or just kind of watching from the sidelines right now.
So both Alien Friends and Cool Man's Universe, they fit the thesis that has been quite hot lately. If you look at Doodles and Cool Cats, like fun and cute is really good combo for a PFP. I looked at both. I didn't love them. And, in retrospect, I think that, fun and cute, it's enough when it's 0.2 or I forget what the prices were when I looked. But it could be worth, just making a bet on in this space. I do think that will change at some point. Like there's a lot, like those lemons. There's a third one that kind of was hot for a bit. These lemons that I really didn't like in terms of the art. Little Lemon Friends.
Yep.
But there's a lot of people that are going to be copying Cool Cats, Doodles, that style of art, and I'm not convinced that the market's just going to keep supporting an infinite number of like the fun and cute projects. And so, I'll still willing to trade them. I'm definitely, for the last few months, right? I really quit looking at new projects for the most part, outside of like a select few. I was very selective. Now I think in this kind of environment, you can be a little more aggressive minting new projects just because, this is the kind of environment where things can really run.
Tend to agree. I wanted to talk one more mover on the board here, and then we'll move on. The Slim Hoods and the Mood Rollers. So both of these projects did about 608th in the last 3 days. I'll go ahead and just quickly show the Slim Hoods OpenSea page. You can see that floor is at over 0.8 ETH right now. It's animated characters. The reason these have been popping off is there's another project called Invisible Friends, which is set to release later this month. It has tremendous hype behind it. And to get on the whitelist for Invisible Friends, you have to have 4 NFTs between Slim Hoods and the Mood Rollers. And so that's put a supply shock into play. And now the 2 prerequisites are rocketing it up. So kudos to those who got in early. These were trading around 0.1, 0.2 just a week ago or so before some anticipation of their prerequisite use. So that will be another interesting one to watch. I want to spend a couple minutes on Chain Faces Arena, Brett. So I know you got in and minted this one. This is from Nate Alex, one of the has a big following in the NFT Twitter space. This is his project. It was 27,000 NFTs, but 0.069 ETH price point, and it sold out in a gas war. It might have been the highest volume or highest supply product we've seen mint out in a gas war.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it, your thought process, and kind of where you're at.
I just, I saw Nansen, right? A lot of smart minters were minting it. Again, with 26K supply, it's a little bit different. But for those that don't know, Nansen is like a dashboard where it you can watch like mints in real time and see like what type of user is minting, whether it's like, is it fish? Is it people that know what they're doing and they have a tag like a smart minter? So if you see a lot of smart minters minting something, typically it's not the worst idea to hop on. So I minted 4 of these. I didn't love it at the supply and the price and the gas. So like I didn't want to go crazy, but I minted 4 it was about 0.46, including gas. And so looking here, man, if you see that one with all the scars on it, so the point of the arena is you put these. I sold all mine, by the way, for basically cost. I just wasn't, I didn't even know what I was buying. So I see the like emoji kind of art, and I'm like, whatever. And then you throw these in an arena, and then some of them randomly just get burned basically every 20 minutes, or I'm not sure the time frame. And if you survive, you get a scar. And so one of the theses is like, oh, people are going to want to pay for ones with like the battle tested ones. That thesis, just looking here, if you look at that one with all the scars, does not appear to be the case, right? No one cares. There's a bunch of ones that have survived several rounds in the battle and on the floor. So I'm happy I sold out of this, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I think a lot depends on if there's any plans from Nate Alex to continue this ecosystem.
I think all he promised was this one arena, and he took 1/3 of the money. So he raised like 7 million-ish, 2.6 million goes to like fund the arena. And then there's no promises for, and this is all up front. Like, I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong, but it doesn't appeal to me. And maybe there'll be something after this initial arena, but so far nothing has been said along those lines.
Yeah, I think the folks who win in the arena and win the raffle, so to speak, will be happy, and there'll probably be a fair amount of disappointed folks. But it was certainly a new twist on an NFT project. We'll give them that. All right, well, let's switch gears. That was a nice market recap, and we'll touch on a few of the other surging floors here in a bit. I want to talk one-on-ones for a bit, switch gears. So headlines again, it's a repeat. I'm on repeat at this point. It's Xcopy. So we actually covered this piece on the show already about 3 months ago, but all-time high in the city, sold for 1,630 ETH, $6.2 million just 2 days ago to Rare Collector 3000. Why we talked about this piece already is that just 3 months before that, the owner, Super Rare 8888, bought it for 1,000 ETH. So a quick 630 ETH flip in 3 months on this Xcopy piece, pre-fees, of course. So after fees, it's going to be less than that. And I think that the fees on Super Rare are fairly healthy. But man, what a flip for that collector. And then just cementing Xcopy here at the top. I actually thought that we were going to be in for a bit of a lull in the one-on-one market. We saw like Cosmo come in, Starry Night make a big splash last year, especially like in October. And December was fairly quiet outside of a few big buys, but this is a spark to January here. Do you think we're going to continue to see these levels of sales here? Or what are your thoughts?
I don't know about this level of 1,600 ETH, but I do think that there's still going to be demand for the sort of one-of-one artists that reach a certain stature, like Xcopy. Like D's, by the way, got an Xcopy yesterday for like 230 ETH or something in an auction. I'm far from an Xcopy connoisseur. It's just out of my price range. I don't pay a ton of attention to it. But when you see someone paying 1,600 for one, you get one for 230. Seems like a pretty good buy. He basically flipped an ape and the two mutants to go with that, or 2 bottles of serum, I guess, to go with that ape for the Xcopy. So I like that trade.
Yeah. Shout out to DZ. Yeah.
But you got to have a long-term horizon, essentially. Like if you're trading, like this guy did flip it for 600 ETH. I don't think, in my opinion, if you are out there looking to trade Xcopies and you're listening to me for some reason, it's not a short-term. You got to have a longer-term mindset in these one-of-ones. But that's when you see these huge gains, right? You look back at some of the prices of these Xcopies. Guys are buying them for 1 or 2 ETH in 2018 when ETH was like not even that much. Here, 10 ETH for 1,400, the first guy, and then he sold it for 3 million, right? So you got to have patience. Like I actually for me, the one-of-ones I like to look at are like in that 0.3 to like 1 ETH kind of range. And then it's just kind of like you're just looking to vault that and like see what kind of artists they turn out to be a couple years down the line is more my strategy instead of playing the higher end.
Yeah, I like that. And this could be a situation where both the buyer and the seller win, right? The seller, of course, 600 ETH or whatever they net profited. You can't argue with that. But long term, this is one of the more iconic Xcopy pieces, so the buyer will likely be fine. And in US dollars, this is even $1 million below the all-time high sale due to fluctuations in the ETH price. Quickly on the DZ buy, he bought that piece for $242.69. The secondary Xcopies were going for 500 ETH last year, so the owner set up a 1 ETH reserve auction. I think maybe trying to catch some hype. I think it was a mistake.
Well, somebody said the Super Rare might have been DDoSed like at the end or something. I'm not sure. I saw like the tweets were kind of like 7 minutes left. I think I won. I can't get in the site. So I think that it's possible that I don't know if it was a DDoS because I saw there was some like internet infrastructure that was down yesterday, right? That sort of affected a lot of sites. So it's possible like AWS Virginia went down or something. And in that end of that auction didn't go as it explained. I thought it was interesting, right? Where the 1 ETH reserve on an Xcopy, I saw that too. I was like, that's a bold move.
Risky move.
Yeah.
It can pay off sometimes.
But you know what? Like, I mean, unless he's going to put it higher than 200, right? It's going to get it's going for over 100, right? So it kind of makes sense. You get a little more attention when you put such a low reserve.
You do. My only challenge with it is, do you lose some of your buyer pool with just like the end time of the auction without that much notice, right? I mean,
Yeah.
even for the big buyers, it can take a day or two to move the funds.
Yeah, I think can you set a longer time than a 24-hour there? I'm not sure, but a week would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, who knows?
5 days, yeah.
I'm sure they're still somewhat happy with their proceeds. Lastly, I want to touch on ACK. We did an interview with him and we published it last week, one of our favorite shows of the year. We talked a little bit about this "Till Death Do Us Part" piece that is ever evolving. Well, he just did a dark twist on the piece. He tweeted yesterday that someone has entered the room, and now we see this new character all draped in black with a pitch axe in their head, and now like the whole scene has gotten quite dark. I'm just picturing, the owner having this like on a wall in their house or somewhere. Hopefully it's framed so that they're able to watch the piece, and then just seeing it randomly change like this. What an awesome piece to see. I'll be very curious where this goes, or if it's potentially foreboding some new drops from ACK that seem like they may be in the works here.
Yeah, this is cool.
That rounds us out. Let's take a look at some blue chip PFPs and start to go around the horn with some floor prices from WGMI.io. So we'll start from the top and then look at the 7-day changes just to highlight what a week it's been here again. So CyberKong's Genesis, 89 floor, up 78% on the week. Bored Ape Yacht Club, 71.6, up 19% on the week. CryptoPunks, stable, up 3% at 68. We talked about them. As we get down into the mid-tier, we'll also see some big increases. So the Mutant Apes, up 46% at 15.5 ETH. Cool Cats, up 44%, 11.35 floor. Doodles, up 64% at 7.5. So we've seen now this mid-range start to increase. Then as we get down into what was previously the lower levels, not so low anymore. So Gutter Cats up 12%, 6.9. Recurring theme of those products that we just recapped is they all have, outside of punks, they've got teams driving them. They've got promises of utility, tokenomics, partnerships. So the Gutter Cats have their token dropping. The Cool Cats are supposed to have their milk token dropping this month. Of course, we've touched on the apes. So that's the recurring theme. That's definitely what this market is hungry for. It's tough to know what to expect. We're 4 days into the month. We're on pace for a record-setting month here. I'm not calling the top. Where do you think we go from here on some of these mid-tier projects, or have you been surprised with this run up, or kind of what are your thoughts on some of this?
Yeah, I was a little surprised. Like, I feel the sentiment was like pretty low the last few months, really from October, November, December. It was a little like August was crazy. Then September was like still going pretty strong. The gas prices really got out of control after that run up. And so I think that, in my opinion, that was like the single most, even though at the higher end it doesn't matter so much, but like that's just so bad when the gas is 0.03 to do anything with an NFT. It really puts a damper on the space. And then like once the liquidity starts disappearing with the high gas prices, you can really see the bottoms fall out of projects. So I thought, like, in general, most NFT traders were like fairly spooked even in December about the space. You saw a lot of people tax loss harvesting, and so I think it's a good to know like how quickly things can change and get people excited again. Like, the thing about NFTs, like, they're really fun. They're especially fun when like everything's going up, and so I think it'll be interesting. I think things are going to run, but again, because a lot of the people that have been participants have seen how quickly the bottoms can fall out, I do wonder if like this sort of highs may be a little bit muted and people will look to take profits more readily than like before, where they might have like held to a 90% loss on some stuff. So I'm still like slightly cautious, but I'm like excited to get in there in this bull market and just trade with, you know, with that bull market mindset, but you know, not necessarily like full all blast gung ho, like this is it. The other shoe can always drop, I think, too.
Yeah, I mean, for those of us who've been trading NFTs for, you know, a year now, this is second cycle, you could almost call it. So hopefully there's some lessons learned from that first bull market that we can apply here.
Yeah.
But man, it's hard to say these things that have topped just yet. I think what's other interesting and kind of confirming the thesis here is Meebits and Toads are sitting right at 4, which they're up, right? They're up. Toads are up 30% on the week. Meebits up 14%. So definitely some solid movement, but they're well below that tier above them. And it's the whole active team versus inactive team, utility versus, you know, just art. Right now, utility is winning, and that's clear in the market. Let's talk about art blocks. So I think what's maybe a bit concerning to me is with this huge influx of liquidity, art blocks has not seen it. They're out of the top 10 in overall projects, and the floors are somewhat reflecting that, even though we've seen some increases. So the Fidenza up top's down 13% on the 7-day at 70. Ringers are at 49. Archetypes at 18 here, up 50% on the week. So they've seen some nice movement. Unigrids at 12, Subscapes at 11. They're up 22%. Meridians at 7. They're even. Chromie Squiggles at 6.17, minus 12% on the week. Fragments from Monica Rizzoli up 20% on the week at 4.8. So you can kind of see it's a bit of a mixed board right now. I will say I was a bit surprised, you know, I thought we were going to bottom right around Christmas with about a week left before January, that people were going to try to get ahead of the tax loss harvesting and start to buy. We actually saw a bit of that in art blocks that last week, and we started to see some floors move, but then it just totally stopped. So should I be concerned with this lack of movement, or what's your take on kind of what we're seeing?
I mean, you kind of touched on it when you were talking about the PFPs, right? The market really values utility right now, and art blocks is art. Like, first off, if they did a art token or something, these things would moon. So I don't necessarily count that out, but for the most part, like what Snowfro has said from the beginning, is we're not gonna throttle supply. Like, this is a platform for generative art that we want to get pieces out there. So similar to how Top Shot really kind of flooded their market, art blocks is going to keep churning out product, and that's kind of in their mission statement since day one. And so there will be winners within art blocks, but for me, like, I don't, the stuff that's like a few ETH and higher doesn't really interest me, because the supplies are still like fairly big, 500 to 1,000 supply. You look at stuff like Fidenzas and Ringers, there's like 1, maybe 2 sales a month in those collections. They're extremely illiquid. So if you want one of those, that's just like a long-term hold. Someone traded a Fidenza and 10 ETH for a doodle the other day. So these are very illiquid. The ones I like, we talked about this, I didn't act on it. There were some factory art blocks that I liked for tax loss harvesting. They hit like 0.2, and then they doubled, or 2.5x, but after fees, it's like the double. And I didn't make the trade, but I saw it. And that interests me more in art blocks is some of like the cheaper end factory, because sometimes they can just get too cheap. And there's just more liquidity when you're dealing in a 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 type of price range. Once you're dealing in like 4 ETH plus, you know, I would only be buying art blocks for the most part, for like long term. I don't think it's a great flip right now.
I tend to agree. And I'm concerned. We've seen Batsoup's pyramid where it's upside down and the money starts at PFPs, and then it's art, like generative art, AI art, and then it's one-of-one art at the very peak of the pyramid. I'm not 100% sure if that's going
I don't really buy that, to be honest.
And I think that part of my perspective is this new DeFi and P2E gaming space is taking a lot of attention, and we're going to cover that more in future shows. But there are now more outlets for that liquidity. So
yeah,
we'll see. I'm a little bit concerned, but on the positive note, So I want to hit on BrainDrops. So BrainDrops is a new platform. It's all about AI generated art. They made an announcement this week ahead of their drop tomorrow, which is called Confluence. And we'll briefly touch on it. That if you hold all 3 of the Genesis pieces, you will be able to mint this new drop. So a bit of utility for Genesis holders. And we've seen some response in the market. So the Claire Silver, her floor for the BrainDrops pieces are at 3.67. The Pinder Van Armen floor for the Podgans is at 1 ETH, and then Gene Kogan's floor is 0.5. So over 5 ETH right now for a Genesis set. So definitely seeing some upwards momentum in this market. The floor overall up at 0.4. It was sitting around a 0.2. So the whole set's up about 2x. So is this just an example of kind of the new hot trendy item catching some market attention right now? Possibly, but we definitely have some big name artists behind those Genesis pieces, which is why I like them. It'll be curious to see how far these go.
One thing I'll say, I bought a lot of AI art recently. And if you do like this style, there's a lot of just cool technology out there. Check out Polygon NFTs. You can get really good pieces or cool looking AI pieces for like 0.01, even 0.005 to like 0.03. It's very cheap on Polygon. There's no gas. You bridge some ETH over to Polygon, and then you can just keep it in that ecosystem. And it's on OpenSea. It's the only other chain that's on OpenSea. I really like it. And again, to me, it's like I'm buying them and I'm just like vaulting it and then like see what kind of artists these people turn out to be. But similar to like Tezos, where a lot of like Art Blocks artists got their start on Tezos, I think a lot of artists are starting out on Polygon because it's just much cheaper, and the market, the buyers have not really looked at Polygon. So I do believe that there's significant upside given the prices, given the no gas fee to look at Polygon art.
I think that makes a ton of sense. And right now, everyone's just ignoring the gas fees, which are surging because everyone's so flush with ETH as everything is mooning right now. But it's not going to last forever. And I think we're going to see a bigger wave on the roll-ups, L2s, Polygons here in this next cycle, and who knows when that's going to start.
And again, Polygon's the only one on OpenSea where 88% of NFT volume is. So
yeah, it's a good point. So I want to end with a couple of drops. So we talked about this new BrainDrops project. It's called Confluence. It's from Devi Parikh. So we see a few of the sample outputs here. I want to read a little bit about the project. The series is part AI, part human analog art, and part human digital art. Pieces are generated using a neural generative model trained on the artist's physical sketchbook. Generations are re-rendered in a variety of palettes, taking the confluence of human and machine a step further, interpreted by an AI model. So we see down here in this portion of the screen some of the images from her sketchbook, and then some of the generations from the AI model, then the re-renderings, then recolorings. This essentially gets us to the final output here. See if we got details of the drop here. So yeah, this is going to be 1,000 mints. I want to say it's 0.1 ETH. We'll follow up with the exact details in the show notes. So we see the overall floor is 0.4. Previously it was 0.2. It could be a profitable mint. Certainly one to follow if you're into AI art. Just a little bit about Devi Parikh. So she is a director of AI research at Facebook, or at least has been in the past, and has some deep expertise in this field. So this will be an interesting one to
wait
watch.
a second. So that one, it's 1,000 total mints, of which some of those are going to go to the people that have a full Genesis set.
Who have to pay for them?
Yeah, but so if it's 0.1, I mean, I'll pay 0.1 for this all day. Is it just open warfare for the rest? So the gas is going to be crazy. You can see these going for like 0.4 plus, or is there some other?
Every drop so far has been insane gas war. So yeah, I feel like there's some expectations that this is it's similar to the old Art Blocks days when Art Blocks was minting at 0.1.
I would still pay 0.4 on some of those, and it was easily worth it. 0.7, I think I paid and still made money. So with the gas.
Why I'm a little bit cautious here is just we're starting to see the supply influx for BrainDrops. This is now their 5th project.
Yeah.
The Xander project, which Dreamscapes, which I liked quite a bit and minted and bought on secondary. That floor went all the way down to 0.2. And I will just caution users who are just coming in from an investing standpoint that we're going to continue to see some supply influx here. But if you're able to mint, short term could be profitable, and of course, holding long term is always an option. The last project on my radar, and it just came on the list this morning, is called Cuddly Crew. I'm going to show their project page right now. It's got a little bit of the Alien Friends, Cool Cats kind of cutesy vibe, but they've got a roadmap that kind of checks all of the hot boxes from the key buzzwords right now. So they've got staking, where everyone who holds an NFT can receive a cuddly token to redeem for in-game items. They've got a mutant serum airdrop. They've got breeding, a mobile game that's coming. So again, we covered this at the beginning. It's a lot to develop.
Look, everyone's promising a game. It's less than 1% of these games are going to even get made, let alone be decent to play. Like that's the thing. Like, you don't see like Supreme saying we're building a game, right? It's so weird. They're trying to do the branding and the merch and a game and the DeFi. It's like, it's too much. But that's what the market likes. They like, I might like play the hype on this thing. It checks the cute fun box, the buzzword bingo, but there's a 0% chance Cuddly Crew executes on this roadmap. Less than 1%.
It's an ambitious roadmap, but I will say the fun twist here, we haven't covered it yet. We buried the headline. Minting is free. So I'm sure we are going to see a bit of a gas war. It's a stealth drop. It's sometime between 6 and 10 tonight Eastern.
So I'm putting right now, I'm putting, for anybody watching, notifications on their Twitter, if I can find it, because that's a good way. That's how I like to approach these stealth drops, right? So you'll see it pop up, and obviously get in the Discord too. But a free stealth drop like this I'm for sure gonna try and get some. But I'm especially the mobile game, like an anonymous small team, they're not going to build a game. Sorry.
And so I'll be watching this one closely as well. I think one word of caution. So already today, we've seen some bad actors infiltrate the Discord of Board Bunnies. I forget the name of the project.
Yeah.
But apparently there was a malicious link in the Discord, and some mentors got their wallets drained. It happened right before the show. I haven't had a chance to really do diligence on it. But just remind everyone to keep up your guard. With this much money flowing through these new projects, it's a market rife for bad actors.
So
if you're minting, go ahead.
A good approach to take. This is something I did on Solana because there were some issues there, but even on ETH now, set up a second wallet in MetaMask or another wallet for just minting. Like, if you have your valuable stuff in there, you never know what's possible, and like the hackers are getting smarter each day. Like, if you have a Fidenza in your wallet or something, or a Bored Ape especially, you don't want to end up going to mint and it turns out you signed a transaction that like gave them your ape or something like that. So for me, like for this Cuddly Crew thing, like if it's a Discord link, I'm gonna mint from basically a fresh wallet, where if I do get screwed, okay, I'm gonna lose the ETH I was gonna pay the gas with, and that's it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a safe way to do it. I think there's also an alternative for folks, since we do avoid minting and just solely play secondary and try to, be fast follows on products that they feel like have the right fundamentals, smart minters, like you mentioned from the Nansen data, right Steam, you like what you see in the Discord. It's always an option. But
the thing is, I'm a gambler, man, and I do like the chance that they're minting the rare, but I do agree that your strategy is quite smart. Because a lot of times you'll get burned on a mint, right? Whether you have a chance at rare, if the mint tanks, you're basically eliminating the chance, or greatly reducing the chance of like a failure of a project by watching the secondary action. But I want to mint that grail.
I hear you. I think this project also has 150 one-on-ones or something. So there's going to be some grails up for grabs.
Yeah.
Maybe that's too many. Now that I'm saying it out
150?
loud.
Yeah, that's way too many.
But well, cool. That was the last drop on my radar. Brett, anything else on your list today? Do we want to talk the flow news that we caught last night?
Yeah, we could cover that really quick. So Flow, which is Dapper Top Shot's blockchain, the Dapper wallet is getting ready for integration throughout the Flow ecosystem, very similar to how MetaMask works. So we were big fans of Hoodlums over on the Sturdy exchange, which is kind of their OpenSea. And they just announced yesterday they're integrating the Dapper wallet into the Sturdy exchange Hoodlum ecosystem. And so basically right now the only place you can get Hoodlums is on Sturdy exchange. Soon, like there's so many people on Top Shot, right? The Dapper wallet is a pretty popular big wallet, and that ecosystem I think is really retail friendly. You can just use a credit card, your email. It's a lot less intimidating than MetaMask. And so I know you and I are both pretty bullish on Flow from a retail onboarding perspective. And this is a big step. So like I'm going to look at some more Flow projects that it might be not a bad time to buy some projects that might be opening up to Dapper wallet that are right now like walled off in their own little fiefdom.
Yeah, I think a big reason we haven't seen as much market action and volume in Sturdy Exchange projects is they're in this kind of walled garden. They're not connected, right? But the product is okay, and the Hoodlums have a really cool community. So as soon as this integration happens, I'll certainly be selling off some Top Shots to buy some more Hoodlums. But certainly it's a good time to start taking note of those projects if you're not familiar with them. Another big one is Ballers. So Ballers actually has a higher floor than the Hoodlums do. Basketball
and it does
player.
cross over with NBA Top Shot, but I'm just not a fan of the pixel art Ballers. It's a lot of hype, you know, like Hoodlums to me is much more chill, just like I don't know. The what I've seen from Ballers I have no interest in buying into that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Certainly just
but I get why people do, so that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's get in the Discord, see if you vibe with the community, see if you think it's the right buy for you. Always a good strategy here. But I think that's it for today. So to our listeners, thanks for joining in and tuning in today. Brett, thanks for joining this morning.
Yeah.
I'll ask everyone to join us again on Friday. We'll be back at our new standard time of 1 p.m. Eastern. Going to attempt to do a deep dive on Treasure and that growing ecosystem, all funded by the Magic token. So if you're interested in that, make sure to stay tuned and pay attention for Friday's show. Till then, enjoy this bull market while it lasts, and we'll see everyone soon. Goodbye.
Cheers.